Thank you for watching CVC Interviews. Today, I will be talking with Gordon Pluff of the Cougar Pantry at MCC. I am your host, Nick Levine. All right, Gordon, let's just talk a little bit about you first before we get into the pantry. When did you really start at working with MCC? When did you go to school there?
I started as a non-traditional age student in 2011. I had to start a second career. My first career was in the restaurant business. I got really sick. I can't go back to the restaurant business. So I went to Manchester Community College for a second career. I was a student from fall of 2011 until graduation in spring semester of 2016.
Oh, okay.
I studied business office technology. I got my degree as an administrative assistant in the medical office. And for most of my career at MCC, I was really involved in student government at MCC.
Now, you said that you were involved in student government. What kind of positions did you hold in that?
My first position was 2 years as treasurer.
Okay.
And then I was vice president, then I was president, and then I spent a year on the student advisory committee to the Board of Regents.
Okay. Now, it says that you became chair of that committee.
Yeah, at the first meeting of a student advisory committee meeting, they hold an election for to have a chairperson. The chairperson sits with the Board of Regents and votes on all matters.
Okay. And what does the Board of Regents really cover?
The Board of Regents covers all of our public higher education institutions, our 12 community colleges, our 4 universities, and our online college, Charter Oak State College.
Oh, okay. And what kind of issues would you deal with in that position?
Well, the most common one is, of course, tuition.
Oh, okay.
How to keep tuition down. We still have to raise tuition. We deal with things like the cost of textbooks. Why do college students have to spend $300 for every textbook for every class they take? And then you can't sell them back because they change the textbooks every semester.
Yeah.
Items like that. One initiative that I was working on with them was equalizing the work-study opportunities on campus. So work-study is for financial aid students, but other students, such as myself, who no longer qualified for financial aid, international students don't have working credentials. I think we all should have the same opportunity to work on campus.
So are you saying that age made it so that way you don't get financial aid anymore?
No, financial aid covers 150% of your degree requirement.
Okay.
I was a student in the 80s when I graduated high school in 1980.
Okay.
Didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't really want anything to do with school, just was told to go. So I just kind of filled out the paperwork every semester and then drop out.
Okay.
You know.
And that affected you for the future of financial
Yes,
aid?
because you don't get a second chance just because you're on disability.
Wow.
It made sense to me at the time, and it still kind of does, educate a person and get them out of the system.
Makes sense.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
but that's not the way it works.
Wow.
So I made the best out of the college experience. Like I said, I didn't know that I would be interested in student government, but
That's true.
But I was. I followed my curiosity and I got really involved in student government, and I learned that I like advocating for students. I learned that I like public policy. That led me to intern up at the state capitol. And it made me a strong voice for students. And part of that reason is the hardships that I went through myself.
Oh, okay.
Okay, paying $300 for a textbook when I'm on fixed income meant that there were times when I had to ask for food, and we didn't always have a food pantry.
Oh.
We didn't have one when I started there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's where you started to get the idea. But were you always into trying to better MCC, like maybe get them things that they didn't have, put on fundraisers or anything like that?
No, I don't remember being involved in anything like that. Just more like student to student, connecting students with a dean, or teaching students how to strategize how to get your books cheaper than the bookstore.
So you were really mentoring.
Yeah, a lot of mentoring.
Great. Now, when you started when they started the Cougar Pantry, how did that begin? What were the initial steps?
Well, our director of student activities, TJ Barber, recognized the need. Of course, he's one of the people that I used to reach out to when I didn't have lunch money or bus money. And as we began to talk to more and more students, we found out that it was common. Housing insecurity is also very common with college students.
Wow.
And it's easy to understand because you go to college because you're not qualified for a job that pays more than minimum wage or just over minimum wage, right? And in a state like Connecticut, we may need to make a lot more than minimum wage to have a house and a car and wear nice clothes and
That's true.
eat good food. So it's easy to understand the need.
Okay. So how did it begin? Who was the person who, or maybe you were that person to start setting it up?
No, the setup was with TJ. He had to work with the college to first procure a space, get permission to give away food from there, and then get the initial food. And he used 2 interns from Central Connecticut State University, Alex and Michelle. They set up the rules and the policies and a database to keep track of our donors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, it says that you are the AmeriCorps Vista, which is, Vista is the Volunteers in Service to America, which eventually became AmeriCorps Vista. How is your involvement with that? Is that separate from MCC?
Yeah, and this is where it seems a little complicated. The college was applying to AmeriCorps to get a Vista.
Okay.
So AmeriCorps pays me about $1,000 a month.
Okay.
MCC has some financial obligation to pay something, and I don't know the exact amount, to AmeriCorps.
Right.
So it's still an expense to the college, but a small one, because for the price of $12,000, they're going to get more than $2,000 worth of labor.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I'm very good at recruiting students, so thousands and thousands of hours of work because of my recruitment efforts.
What goes into your daily job here at the pantry?
Well, I maintain our Facebook page, the MCC Cougar Pantry.
Okay.
Yeah, like us on Facebook.
All right.
And that also helps me communicate with the outside community as well.
Okay.
Because other people see what's going on in the community, and we can get donations that way. So I'm doing, on a day-to-day basis, maintaining the Facebook page, soliciting donations, recruiting and developing volunteers, and my main source of volunteers is the sociology classes.
Oh.
So all the sociology professors build community service into their classes, their curriculum. And so a lot of the students opt for the MCC Cougar Pantry. Initially, because of its convenience, they can just get out of class and walk over.
That's true.
But then when they realize the need and what a great service we're doing for the students, they fall in love with the idea and they kind of stay if they can, schedules permitting. I often refer to the Community College Challenge. Community college students don't make a lot of money, so they have to work. They don't live on campus, so they have to travel.
Yep.
They have family obligations. Sometimes they have older generations that they have to take care of. Some have housing insecurity.
Yeah,
They won't take food to go because they don't have anywhere to put it or cook it.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Now, what has been the reception on the student portion? Have you been finding a lot that have been asking for help, coming in and using the pantry?
Yes, I started this position November 14th
Okay.
of 2016. And as of now, we're at just about 600 students served.
Oh, wow.
And some are once or twice, and then they're back on their feet, and they don't need to come back. Some are a little bit more chronic.
Okay.
But it's really important to help students stay in class so they can finish to get their degree so they can move forward,
Yes.
rather than going back to that low-wage job that they had before.
And then repeating the cycle.
Exactly.
Okay. And as for your donors, how easy has that been, or how hard has that been to really acquire the donations?
It's been very easy. And I
Really?
think I think that speaks to the sense of community that is at Manchester Community College. It's so much more than I've seen at other colleges. We're the only college food pantry that I'm aware of in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island that is completely self-sustaining. We've operated so far on a zero budget.
Nice.
So all the food is coming from professors, staff members, students, and student clubs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just an example of how it's a real true sense of community at MCC.
Okay, nice. Now, the full name of it, though, is the Cougar Pantry and Career Clothing Closet.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the other half. Was that in the initial build-up, or was that something you realized later that we need the clothing?
Another example of the sense of community. Our Administrative Professionals Club at MCC started collecting career clothing so that we could do a distribution day, which is now turned into a distribution week, so that as students fill out their applications and get the phone call, like, hey, good news, you got the job interview. Now, if they don't have something, they can come to the closet and pick out an outfit or two that will be appropriate for interviewing. And then, so the career clothing closet got moved in to share our space with the pantry.
Okay, and that's when they started to combine them.
Yeah, there's still two separate projects.
Oh, they are?
The career clothing, a student has to come in and say, hey, I have an interview or something of that sort, and may I pick out an outfit? We also collect everyday clothing because when people think about bringing in food donations, often they want to clean out their closet too and bring us their everyday clothing
That makes
or
sense.
seasonal clothing. So we also have that students can take as much as they want.
Now, how does that work with the clothing? Do you have to, do they give it back? Do they hold on to it? Is it just for the interview, or?
No, it's theirs to keep.
Oh, okay.
Theirs to keep.
And are you, I take it you're running a surplus on clothes, being what you had said earlier about donations.
Yeah, the clothing donations come in a little bit faster. Students seem to be a little picky about what they wear and where they get it from. You know, so sometimes I have to give away. So I have a partnership with MAC, the Manchester Area Conference of Churches. So we were able to give them a carload one time of clothing that they could sell at their thrift shop.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, back to the other part. What are some of the things that you help with aside from food and clothes?
Oh, so if you were a student coming to my pantry and you asked for 3 or 4 days worth so you could work at home because you don't have bus money, come out to my office. We'll get you a bus pass. We want you to stay in class. Okay, sometimes, for instance, there was a family. Mom and the daughter were attending at the same time.
Okay.
One day they came home from school and the fire marshal was at their apartment complex to say, good news, bad news. Bad news is your apartment's condemned. The good news is you have 30 minutes to get your stuff out.
Okay.
So the landlord had a responsibility to set them up with a motel. They went to the motel and the motel wouldn't take their therapy dogs. So a professor noticed mom's grades going down and she took her aside to find out that their whole family, including the dogs, were sleeping in their car. It was affecting their performance. So she brought her to a dean, and then the deans appealed to the foundation for a student retention grant, and they helped them stay on a motel that would accept their dogs, while they connected them with other agencies so that they could get an apartment and get reestablished. And it worked. The daughter came back continued, and then mom has to take a semester off to take care of, resettling the family and reestablishing income and whatnot.
Okay. Wow, that's a good story.
Yes, and we have right now Community Renewal Team, CRT, comes every other Monday for 3 hours so that students can apply directly without having to go out of their way. CRT can help with things like they're known for energy assistance. So imagine if you had to pay tuition and refill the oil furnace on the same month. It might make you have to choose between heat and education.
That's true.
So we're developing relationships with outside agencies to spend time on campus so they're right there for the students.
Oh, nice. Another thing that you guys help with more on site is the cafeteria there. You have a voucher system?
Yeah,
or-
so if a student came in for food and they looked around and they said, listen, I have a certain dietary restriction and I'm not seeing anything in here that I can really eat, well, we have a voucher that we can fill out for them and send them to the cafeteria where they might be able to take advantage of the salad bar, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if somebody, let's say, just didn't have money to eat at the caf, does that cover that, or?
Yeah, the voucher is for $8. They can use it any way they
Oh,
see
okay.
fit. Yeah.
All right. Now, as for the food system, how does that work? How does someone approach you for that if they need food?
We have a completely open door policy. So a student just comes into the Office of Student Activities in L149, and they just simply ask for access to the pantry. We don't monitor what they take. We don't tell them how many items they need or how many items they can have. It's just an
okay.
open door. We try to keep a balanced selection so that students can have good selection and healthy alternatives to the best that we can. Of course, we always have our share of ramen noodles and noodle bowls, and those are always popular.
Those are the best.
We don't want to encourage students to live on that, but we're a temporary situation. Get through college and get done, and then you can make your better food choices. But we do try to keep, like cheese snacks and fruit, canned fruit. Bananas are very popular. Bread and eggs are popular also, so students can make something healthy at home.
Good. Now, how? Because a student, they might be wary of looking for help or asking for help. How do you help with that? Like maybe they don't, maybe they feel embarrassed or something, so they don't
Exactly.
know
That's a big
how to
problem.
show up.
That's a big problem, and that was the first thing I addressed when I took over. There was an intake process, an interview with the students.
Okay.
I took that away. They were tracking banner ID numbers. I took that away. No taking names. It's completely 100% open door.
Okay.
There was a sticker system where they would put a sticker on a food product and put a date so they would know about when to throw it away.
Okay.
I took that away. I don't want a stigma. I share research with my volunteers. We know that up to 40% of students are going to face food insecurity before they graduate. So if we already know that, why would we interview them? Just get the food and let them have it.
Makes sense.
And yes, and at a workshop of the Campus Compact recently, we spent a whole day, college campuses from Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, coming up with what would be considered best practices, and we already do that.
Good.
So it's and the number one item that they wanted us to be sensitive about is dignity.
Yeah.
So my volunteers are screened carefully and trained. We don't ask questions. We want to maintain confidentiality, but confidentiality is the beginning.
Right.
We need to be welcoming, complimentary, so that if next time a student's hungry, they're not thinking, I don't feel like being interviewed for.
Yeah, or berated or
Right.
anything like that.
So we're very sensitive about that. So if a student is, if it's their first time, we'll show them, where to find the ready-to-eat between classes kind of stuff. If there's something we have an abundance of, we'll encourage them to take a bunch. We also have baby food and baby clothing,
Okay.
personal care items, and the everyday clothing. So we just point out what's there and where the bags are. And then we also, rather than just posting an announcement saying when we're open, we actually, myself and my volunteers, we go around campus handing out flyers, handing out my business card. Sometimes we'll take a cart with an array of food or food and clothing.
Okay.
And then that gets people's attention.
Yeah.
For instance, one day at the beginning of the semester, I went out with clothing and I just did a big clothing because we had a lot of winter coats. So a guy was walking by and he said, "Hey, what's up with the clothes?" I said, "It's yours." He said, "No, really, what's the catch?" I said, "No, if you're a student here, you can have clothes."
Okay.
And I thought he was nicely dressed, and he even brought it up. "Nice clothes I'm wearing, right?" I said, "Yeah, I was noticing that." And he said, "They're not mine. I have to give them back. So I could really use a winter coat. What's the catch?" I said, "There's no catch. Take it." And I said, if you need a coat, maybe you need a sweater to go with it for those really cold days. And he said, yeah, what's the catch? There's no catch, man, just take it. And he goes, thank you, I have to go to class. He took my card, but he goes, I want to come back and talk to you. So he came back identifying as homeless.
Oh.
So he doesn't have a place to store stuff, but he was appreciative to get a winter coat and a sweater. And I said, what are you doing about that? What do you do in the cold? He said, I just find a warm hallway and I just keep moving, and as long as I get a couple hours, I'm all right. He goes, but I'm determined to get my education. So about a week later, he came back. He said, Gordon, now I got a part-time job. I found a person who's going to let me stay in their house from midnight to 6, so they won't worry about me out in the cold. And so could I have a change of clothes? I said, yes, take a couple of bags to get what you need. So he shopped for a while, got what he needed, took it home, came back the next day, and he said, okay, thanks for that. Now that I have a place, can I take some food home so that I don't eat that other person's food? I said, yes, of course. But I want you to also take some for the person to say thank you, okay? Because he probably can't pay rent right away.
Yeah, that's true.
Share some food. So he was very thankful about that. And now he comes in and he volunteers for me on a regular basis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic story. He loves to tell his story. And yeah.
That's great. You turned somebody into a volunteer on top of it.
Yeah. And it's sad, how easy it is to find housing insecure students. I don't think I go a week without meeting a student.
Wow. I went to MCC, and I got to say, yeah, you wouldn't just know that. 'Cause
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
It's not like it's something that's advertised, that people are having a hard time,
Right.
They don't really tell you that. Now, if someone is having a hard time, where exactly are you located inside of the school?
We're in the student activity suite, which is kind of off to the side next to the registrar's office,
Okay.
near the bookstore. So the
Okay.
bookstore is a place the bookstore and registrar are places where everyone needs to go to, all students, right? But we're kind of in a side hallway. So you do kind of have to look for us a little bit.
Is that where the exercise area is?
Exactly.
Okay, so they put you in there. All right.
Yeah, my office is directly next to the fitness center, and the food pantry itself is it's across the hall from the Livewire student newspaper.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah, they put
Yeah.
you guys in a good spot.
Yeah.
That's all right. Now, do you have a way that people can get referred, maybe? Like, Like, do you have aside from maybe just seeing like flyers or anything, is there a way that people are notified in other ways? Like maybe when they're applying for financial aid?
Yeah, I do contact all the departments and give them all the information. Sometimes they even let, for instance, the library invited me into their meeting so that they would know fully what we do and they can refer students. Student retention services, when students' GPA gets low, they get an academic coach. And the director of student retention services always talks about, what's your situation? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food? Do you have, because sometimes that's what gets in the way of our grades.
Okay.
So yeah, we do that, and then we go to new student orientations as well.
Good. All right, great.
Yeah.
Now, in closing though, I'd like to know, is there anything that you would like to mention or anything that we didn't really touch upon that you think people should know?
Yeah, I think it's worthy to mention that people in higher education who graduated at a different time don't always understand this food pantry business.
Yeah.
There was great opposition to its inception.
Oh.
And there's still a significant amount of resistance to my open door policy. People tell me they won't donate because I'm not regulating what students take or telling them what to take or, documenting their visits.
Really?
Yeah, I get that regularly.
Huh.
But in my experience, I'm not going to do that. And an example is a student came in one day because we were out handing out flyers and it caught her attention. So she came down to visit, and she was like visibly embarrassed to be there. She needed some clothes, she needed some food. But then she kept coming back from time to time. And over time, she's opened up to me. She came to trust me, telling me her story. She and her daughter are both students there at the same time.
Yeah.
5 people in the household. 3 generations. Food stamps don't make it all the way through the month. When she mentioned food stamps, I was like, oh, so when you have food stamps, that qualifies you for food pantries.
Right.
And she was like, the food pantry is way too intrusive. They ask too many questions. They ask things that are none of their business, and they're rude. We already feel bad that we have to go there.
Yeah.
And then they make us feel worse.
It's true.
I'd rather go 3 or 4 days without food than to go there. So that's why the college food pantries have to be super sensitive to that. And we have to be the opposite. We have to welcome them in.
Well, you know what, Gordon? You've been doing a good job. I like the direction that you're going and not, making people feel less than just because they need help. And I got to say, it was a pleasure meeting you. And Gordon, keep fighting the good fight on that. And thank you all for joining us today on an episode of CVC Interviews. I was your host, Nick Levine, and today with us was Gordon Pluff.